Well, look at what arrived in my mailbox last week. It is part of the Callsign Longbow Kickstarter. It was a 3.75-inch O-ring action figure Kickstarter for those who are not quite aware of what this is. But it's really cool because I'm a huge fan of O-ring action figures. And no, it's not just because I grew up with them. I actually think O-ring is about the perfect action figure ever. And one day, hopefully very soon, I'll be making a video. Now that this figure has arrived, I'll probably be making the video very, very soon. So included in the package was not just the Ghost action figure, but we got some invisible battle stands over here. 12 of them, I believe. I don't see the number, but I think there's 12 figure stands there. You get a comic book. This is issue 1, 15. It's an expensive comic book. And you get a couple patches. You get this thing. I'm not exactly sure what this is. It might represent like the good guys. And you get this patch, Marauder, Task Force, Retro Ops. This has a connection to a figure that they will be doing and will be releasing at some point in the future when they are getting more along the lines of their figures. But anyway, yeah, this is really pretty cool. I'm going to set these couple items off to the side. I'm going to take a quick peek here because I want to show you how this figure is looking a lot like, they're designing it to look a lot like an old G.I. Joe card. And I won't spend a lot of time on it, but you kind of get the resemblance. You get the portrait on the left, you get the bubbles on the right in about the same locations. Logo at the top, you got posable information in the top left corner, some sort of call out in the bottom left corner. We'll flip this around. You can see the back, and there's some similarities with their colored boxes and their cross sale, and kind of won't stand up properly. You got a file card at the bottom, text here and there. I mean, sure, it looks like an average toy card, right? But I mean, it's been designed to look very similar to G.I. Joe. So that's enough of that. I think it is time we now look at the actual figure and get this figure off the card. Here we have Ghost freed from the package, and I've got to be completely honest with you for just a moment. It's kind of disappointing to get a figure that's about a 60% repaint from a very first figure in an action figure line from a company. And what I mean by that, if you're not aware, if you are, that's cool. But if you're not aware, quite a bit, I don't know if it's quite a bit, but the legs, the waist, the arms were all used for this Wolf Trooper over here. The torso and the head is different, so brand new. Now, some of you might say, but repaints are good. And yes, I agree. I'm actually a pretty big fan of repaints for an action figure line. I don't mind them because it allows the company to use the tooling and make a little bit more money from that. However, it just kind of sits a little different, has a bit of a different feel when this is the company's first official release for their line. Even though they did put out a figure they made this figure for another company. I mean, I would have liked to have gotten this figure before this figure, and then having another company get this figure as a bit of a repaint would have been completely fine. But I don't know, I don't know, it just feels weird to have the first figure in a line be 60% repaint. So anyway, we'll back away from that kind of commentary for the moment. It's just something I'm noticing. So the figure looks actually really pretty nice. Or let me rephrase that, the colors look nice. So let's take a peek real quick at the articulation. It's pretty basic O-ring articulation. You have knees that bend about 90 degrees. In fact, it actually might bend just a little bit more than just like 92 or something. If you want him to do the splits, if you want him to sit, splits and sits. O-ring at the waist, so yeah, all over the place, nothing through the torso. A rotation at the shoulder, and the arms can go up that high, otherwise they could go this high. You've got a little bit more than 90 degree at the elbow, and there is a hinge and rotation there. And unlike classic O-rings, this figure has a rotation at the wrist, and that's the only thing it has that's brand new. Just wrist rotation, nothing else. Everything else is extremely, very classic O-ring related. And the last thing is the head. Now, I tried this thing out, little bit disappointed here. That's left. Wait, that's left. That's right. That's down. That's up. That's about it for the up and down. And yeah, there's not a lot of range of motion there. That's really disappointing because, like, let's just bring in a new Hasbro figure real quick. This guy can go like all over the stinking place. Their new ball joint system in there allows for some amazing articulation. So, you know, this is pretty limited, I would say. You won't be able to... It's the armor, right? The armor limits it. So what about the accessories? We'll take a peek here at the accessories. The coolest part, the coolest accessory is the shield. And take a look at this. So we'll put the figure, we'll stand him up. Maybe. These figures have a little bit difficulty standing up. That's why they all come with figure stands, I'm guessing. But look at that. Now you see him. Now you don't. That's a really cool... I like this effect. It's a lenticular type of a material. That's the coolest thing accessory-wise with this figure. Otherwise, he's got this backpack, and on the backpack, there's these bombs, these mines. There's these somethings that come off, and they're on each side. And you get a figure stand, and you get a gun that looks identical to the Wolf Trooper gun, and you get this thing, which is futuristic or something, and I don't know what it is, but it's also something that came with Wolf Trooper, and there you go. Now, the idea is some of these things will go on the backpack, so I can hook this on there, but this little portion right here is starting to kind of wear out on me, and I've only put it in 3 times. I've tried this out a few times. These notches or these little pegs are like spreading apart, and they're staying apart as I put that in. So I don't know if you can see that, and it makes it very loose, so this thing doesn't really hold on all that well. If it gets bumped or anything, it's just starting to like give up already. So we're going to try and sneak the shield on, because the shield hooks on here as well. And the best way to hook that dagger, that futuristic sai, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, the best way to hook the shield on is to face it down. So then the shield will hook right on these 2 pegs up here, like so. I already heard that disconnect, but it's pretty cool how it hooks on, and then it will hook on him. Now, here's a problem. This is extremely tight. Like, it's really tight. You got to really shove this thing in. It's almost like the hole's not big enough for this backpack, which is, well, disappointing. So there we go. And if you want this figure to stand while wearing a backpack, you've got, yeah, no, not happening. Included figure stand, you're going to have to, unless you are an amazing balancing artist, you're absolutely going to have this figure on a stand. Which I also find a bit disappointing, because I like figures that can hold their accessories and stand because they've been balanced well. But no, if you want this figure to stand with this backpack, you know, all this stuff on there, we're like still leaning forward here. And there we go. That's how he's going to stand. Yep, that's about the way he's going to stand if you want him to actually hold his gear, which at this point I don't want him to hold his gear. And that thing is missing. Where'd that go? Oh, it's stuck in here. Anyway, then I don't want him to hold his gear anymore if he can't stand properly. But then again, just standing the figure can be a bit of a chore. So there we go. There we go. Look at that. We got him to stand. If I do that way, there we go. So that can be a bit of a chore. You can see I'm pounding on this, and he kind of wants to fall backwards. So, you know, one good vibration. So you still are going to need to lean him forward if you want him to stand. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's the straightness of the legs. They do look like maybe at the ankles the figure leans backwards just a little bit, which is kind of weird. Quality check, I think, would have, you know, shown something like this. So if you want him to stand in some cool little pose, because like even with some of these other figures, let's bring in this one right here. Even this one I was able to get to stand pretty well first try. And I could pose her, you know, like some crazy way. Of course, I can't do it now. I'm trying to do something on camera. But I've been able to pose them on the edges of their feet, and it will work pretty well. Set her back there. If I were to do something like that with him, Can we do that with him? The same general idea. I don't know. Oh, I thought we had it there. I thought it was. There we go. Look at that. Okay, now I can get him to pose, because I like these types of figures that will pose like this. You can make figures pose as long as they've been made well. Another thing I'm noticing are there's a few cracks in the joints. It's not really right to say that way, but like right here, you can see the seam down this right leg. And over here, up on the top here, like, I don't know, can you actually see what I'm doing here? It looks really dark on my preview screen. I flipped another light on, but like, I see the seam right there. I see the seam very clearly right there. And I don't know if just tightening the screw. Yeah, there is a screw in here, by the way. I turned it a couple turns, but I can still see those seams, so I don't know. I don't know what's going on. First figure, maybe that's it. I can't remember, did Wolf Trooper have some of those seams? Let's take a peek here. Yeah, he had the same seam down the legs as well. Oh yeah, and there's gaps up here on his shoulders, so it must be something that Longbow is still, or Grindstone is still trying to figure out. So probably for the remainder of the video, on the figure stand he goes. And I know I said he was on the figure stand for the rest of the video, but I decided we needed him off the figure stand to do some height comparisons, because why not do some O-ring height comparisons? Here's a Skeletron figure, exactly the same company. So why are we doing it? Just for fun, because like this guy's red and black and the other one's purple and blue and gray. So why not? There's a classic Cobra Commander. It's funny, these classic figures stand a whole lot better than some of these modern figures, and they have smaller feet. If you look at the size, look at the size comparison on those things. And it's funny, these newer figures are a little bit more difficult to stand. I say that as I'm trying to get him to stand. We have a figure from Heavy Armor Toys right there. We get a Strike Force Alpha in here now, who is going to lean, because all the Strike Force Alpha figures I have lean. I can't get them to stand straight up. And we have Riot Commando from Zyka, which we've discovered in a previous video is actually taller than most of these O-ring figures. There we go. Look at that, he's at attention. Then we got a brand new Hasbro O-ring figure, Leatherneck from the Transformers Cup Triple T. I love these figures so much. These are so awesome. This is a great figure. I've got to do a video about this figure. He's so awesome. Then we have a Super 7 O-ring. Now that I finally have my hands on some Super 7, she's a little bit shorter, but yeah. And then we get Delta 17, and I'll just be really honest, Delta 17 is currently my, actually I'm not going to say what it is. Actually, I probably just kind of gave it away. But it's one of my favorites. I really, really like the Delta 17. I am following pretty much anything they do at this point. But, come on. I screwed it up, but anyway. It looks like he's a little shorter. The bad guy for Delta 17 is a little bit shorter than Ghost. Now, let's talk about Ghost for a second here, and then we'll be wrapping things up. I thought this was a troop builder figure, so I was like really anxious. I was thinking, yeah, once they go on the store, I'm going to probably grab a couple more Ghost figures, because, you know, it might be kind of fun to have some purple troop ninja, whatever these guys are. You know what? He didn't come with a sword. That's really disappointing. He didn't come with an awesome looking sword. So he's going to get an awesome looking sword. It'd be cool to have a translucent purple sword. But anyway, so reading the file card, discovered apparently this is an individual. And that's really disappointing, because I was really looking forward to troop building this guy. Not troop building like crazy, but like get 2 or 3 of them. And I don't know, maybe it's better to have this as an individual figure, but maybe they should have made him, you know, like a clan or something like that. Let's see how well, and actually let's see how does. So the shield does not thread through the arms like that, so it must just be that you hook it on and You do that kind of a thing. So look at that. They should have given him a sword. They already had the mold for Skeletron. Why not? He looks almost like a futuristic knight. Sword and shield. Yeah. Yeah, this is great. Yeah, he's going to get this sword. This is now his sword. Wool Trooper Skeletron, you know, they don't need a sword. This guy needs a sword. If he's going to have a shield like this, he needs a sword. Come on, why didn't he get a sword? Yeah, I'm going to just be... Why can't he stay on his figure stand now? I like posing and playing, and figure stands don't allow for posing and playing. Well, they allow for posing, but not really for playing, because they tend to fall off figure stands. Yeah. Let's go. Come here. Divergent. I dub thee, sir. Divergent. Just kidding. Oh, man, I knocked him over. Anyway, this is Ghost, Callsign Longbow. I don't know when, if, or what this figure is actually going to be available. If you collect O-rings, you missed the campaign, and you want to get it, I got no clue in this world what's actually happening. So keep an eye on Grindstone Toys website, I guess, and maybe some more will pop up. That would be pretty cool if they actually popped up some more stock, get some more people interested. We got to start doing some more. We need to be better selling and advertising these O-ring figures if we want to build up the community again. But anyway, thanks for stopping by and watching. I'll see you next time.